This is, for those of you that are new, this is Leaders Connect. This is, been doing this for over 20 years. And we try to bring together interesting people like all those folks on the screen right now, along with interesting speakers who are keeping people up to date about leadership and community and environment and all those important things. So we live in a very challenging age, and I think that the answer is to try to work together and find spots where we can collaborate and also enjoy ourselves. So I'm going to turn things over to David. David's the starting offensive tackle for the University of Michigan this year. They're going light. So they're going from 330 to 150 or something like that. So, but he's quick. So David, you're the communications director, or what's your title exactly?
Whatever anyone in the athletic department wants me to do. That's usually my title. So no, but I oversee, I'm the associate AD for football communications. So I oversee all the communications and creative for the football program.
Terrific. So David's going to kick us off today and talk about what's coming up for football. I don't think I'm going to ask him to predict the outcome of the season, but talk about some of the highlights and what he's seeing. And then Dave's going to talk for a few minutes, and then people can post questions. And this is going to be the format. People will talk for a few minutes. We'll answer questions for a minute, and just put the questions you have on the chat, and we'll go from there. And if everybody wants to just say hi in the chat, that's great too. So David, I'm going to turn it over to you. David was referred to me by a good friend of mine, Claiborne, who's in a new role now. That's pretty exciting for him.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate it. And yes, Claiborne Green is our former head of academics, worked with all of our football players, but now is in-house working with us in an administrative position, holds everybody accountable. And he's a great accountability type guy, but really honored, feel privileged to be out with this group talking a little bit today just about football season. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has. This is the 142nd season. We are very excited to get the football season going, as everyone is in the community, just to hopefully get back to some sense of normalcy after last year. We started 2 Fridays ago. We are currently in the midst of hitting the practice field in about 21 minutes for our 10th practice of the fall. Very excited. Our players are, it's a very tight-knit group. Feel like they have a lot to prove this year. We have some new coaches on the staff that joined us. We have quite a few coaches on the defensive side, but we've got some, obviously a couple of alums, great alums in Ron Bellamy, who's coaching our safeties, and Mike Hart, the all-time leading rusher, back here coaching our running backs, as well as we have one of our former offensive linemen named Courtney Morgan, who's here. He's now our new director of player personnel, which oversees all of recruiting. So we've got quite a collection of guys that have ties to Michigan. It's a great coaching staff, great administrative staff, and I know our guys are excited to get the season going. We've had a lot of really good competition early on here. The one thing that you'll see from our team this year is, I think a lot more competition and a lot more depth. That's one of the nice things that we have. And that's the one thing that's come through this fall so far. And the one other nice thing is that this team is so tight, really likes each other, gets along. And I think when you look at it, that's one of the big things, when you're trying to set a mindset with the team, as long as you have a great locker room, you generally have a good team. So we're excited about that. Like I mentioned earlier, we are really excited to hopefully get back to a full capacity stadium in front of fans. That was one of the things that was really missed last year, that atmosphere, that electricity, the things that you want and know that everyone knows about Michigan Stadium that makes it special. I think one of the nice things for us is the fact that we're going to start with first four games at home. So that'll be exciting. One of them being a night game against Washington, but to have four home games right out of the gate in September is going to be something good for our football team and for hopefully the community.
Fantastic.
rivalry games. One of the things, I don't know if everyone's heard, but we do have a new rivalry game and a new rivalry game trophy that's named after a longtime Ann Arbor resident who unfortunately passed away at like age of 36, and George Jewett and the Jewett family. George Jewett was the first African-American football player that ever played at any of the Big Ten schools. He played at both Michigan and Northwestern. So we're going to have a rivalry trophy game, which, obviously connects Ann Arbor. So that'll be a nice thing with George growing up here. And then
who's that against, David?
That is Northwestern. So Michigan and Northwestern. He played at both Michigan and Northwestern. He played at Michigan in like 1890 and 1892. And then because the dean of the medical school wouldn't let him play football, he transferred to Northwestern and finished his career while he got his medical degree.
Wow, fantastic.
So
I think that's a fairly famous family in Ann Arbor still, Coleman Jewett, who I think died a few years ago. And it's a very well-known family. There's a couple people that were there when he played. Larry, is that one of your memories back there a couple hundred years ago, or has that slipped out of your memory bank there, Larry? Larry's got to unplug there. Now we'll keep rolling. Let's see if there's any questions for David. People can raise their hand right now. We don't have to post it on board, but anybody have a question about football season coming up? I know there's a lot of season ticket holders out there.
Yeah, any questions you have, happy to answer them.
This is Ken Fischer, and I'll be spending some time with Jim Baird, whose grand uncle was the first athletics director at the University of Michigan, Charles Baird, who hired Fielding Yost, but about 30 or so years later, donated $70,000 towards the construction of Burton Memorial Tower, especially the bells, the 53 bells that were cast in Loughborough, England, were a gift 30 some years later by the first athletics director at Michigan. So I don't know, David, if you've gotten a chance to know Jim Baird. He grew up in this town. He's a lawyer and a great guy.
I know the name. I may have met him at one of the reunions with the football program at one point, but probably can't place the face at this moment.
Yeah. David, I'm going to put you on the spot just a minute and ask, this is a leadership program. So you mentioned you work for whoever, but what are some of your leadership challenges that you face personally in terms of trying to operate communications?
Well, I think you start there with dealing with some of the media. That's a very challenging aspect in itself. Just, this program, as everyone knows, is under a different microscope. It is, just not only because you're the winningest program in college football, but because of the interest, the level of success this program has and that we expect. I deal with hundreds and hundreds of media, on a weekly basis, and game days, it could be anywhere from 500 to 1,000 members of the media that we're interacting with and dealing with. So, my objective is always going to be to put the best foot forward for the football program, put the best foot forward for our players. I look at it as a management job because you have to manage a lot of different interests and desires from others. But at the end of the day, your goal and objective is to help the team win. So you always got to make sure you're doing the things that are right for the coaches, the players, and allow them to be able to do the things that can help translate to wins on the field.
Yeah. One of the things I really appreciate about the football program and several other of the programs too, is that it gives kids who really would not have this opportunity the chance to be successful and actually make a lot of money. I've been teaching several of the students over the last 5 years, and if I had their cumulative wealth, I would be up there with the the Bloombergs of the world. So they've done quite well, and many of them have raised their whole families out of poverty, and it's very exciting. So appreciate that. It's something that people don't often see. They just think, oh, they went to the pros, but it really means a lot to them and to their families. All right, well, David, I know you got to take a few snaps out there and please the coach in 100 ways. So Well, thank you very much for coming on board. Everybody who's a Michigan football season ticket holder or goes to the games, raise your hand. I know there's a lot of them out there. All right. Yeah, very
we
good.
appreciate it. We appreciate you hanging there with us last year in a tough season. And then also with this season upcoming, you know, in terms of our ticket sales, I know it's been really good. We're down to, we got almost 3 games sold out, and the other 4 are under 5,000 individual game tickets, probably closer to 4,000. So it's been good. Glad to see that people want to get back out and, you know, come to football games and, you know, support the football program. So we appreciate all that. And it's also good to see a few familiar faces that haven't seen in a while.
All right, David, take care and good luck with the season. And hopefully we'll talk to you later in January and talk about the huge success and how you surprised everybody and the wonderful, I don't know what bowl game you're going to, but you know, I always like the Rose Bowl, but whatever you get to is fine.
Playoff for the Rose Bowl, it's whichever one.
All right, sounds good. Take
Thanks for
care.
having me.
You're welcome. We're going to go from in football, there's a lot of hands on the ball, but now we're going to go to another hands-on, and that's the Hands-On Museum downtown Ann Arbor, Children's Hands-On Museum, and also Leslie Park. And my 2 granddaughters were in town a couple weeks ago. They're 5 and 7. And it actually was a big problem going to the Hands-On Museum because I couldn't get them out of there. They enjoyed things. They've got this one wonderful exhibit, which is a water kind of thing. And it's like an engineered, and one of them came home and like described for about 25 minutes how this thing worked. So I was amazed that she figured it out because I couldn't figure it out. So Mel Drumm, Mel's been executive director, CEO, president, cleaning up the facility when it gets wet, whatever is needed. Well, how many years now, Mel?
17 years, Rob.
Wow, 17 years. That's incredible. So Mel, I know you've got some exciting things coming up, and maybe you could tell people a little bit about the museum. How many have had experiences going to the museum? Raise your hand if you've been there with your kids or grandkids, or you just go on your own. Okay, quite a few. So Mel, let's take it away.
Great. Thank you, everyone. I'm so glad that you've had a chance to visit us. Well, during the last year, you can imagine that the name Hands-On has been a bit problematic. But whenever you have an issue that is pretty bad, you try to make lemonade out of it. And I think our team has done really well. So we've done some major reinvesting in the organization. So for all of those that have not been there in a long time, I invite you to come back and visit, because we have done so many upgrades. We have a brand new gallery that we worked on all last year, one of the largest gifts ever to the organization. That's all about health and wellness. Feels kind of timely, don't you think? And it's all through the lens of play. So it's really for our younger visitors. And the Hands-On Museum really is a combination of a science center and a children's museum. Prior to the pandemic, we were seeing 400,000 people a year coming through our programs at the museum and over at Leslie Science and Nature Center, positioning us as probably the highest attended informal science destination. Well, you can imagine over the last year, that went from 400,000 to 0. So it's been a bit of a challenge, but as I said, we put in the new gallery. And this week, we also have a brand new second gallery opening. And if you get the Observer, on the very back page of it kind of looks like this. We have a new exhibit called Steam Park, which is kind of a play on the whole idea of engineering and arts and turning a city inside and out. It's a great collaboration with our friends at Toyota. We've been working on it now for 4 years, and I've always wanted to walk into a gallery space here and stop in my tracks and say, oh my gosh, we've arrived. Well, I can tell you all, when you walk into the gallery, I was gone for a week's vacation, odd thing that I don't do very often, and I walked in, and there it was. It's just fantastic. And this is an example of a community of people coming together, really from artisans and designers and fabricators and board members and everyone you can imagine, and all of our colleagues at Toyota, trying to do something that kind of, demystifies the idea of science and engineering and really showcases it in a very, very playful way. So we can't wait to open that on Wednesday of this week. So we have a grand opening celebration Wednesday morning. We also, as we've been sitting here doing nothing over the last year, We've worked to expand our presence across the region. So obviously the Leslie Science and Nature Center is part of our organization. And my colleague there, Susan Westhoff, and team have been building a wonderful outdoor playscape. And if you haven't been to Leslie Park in a while, I encourage you, everyone to go take a look at it. We have a brand new trail put in, and we're starting to build out some wonderful new experiences that we will finish out over the next couple of years. But again, a great example of the community coming out and trying to really build a much bigger and better organization. And it also will be playful, science-rich, and wonderful. And then we've also just about ready to open a new center in Port Huron, of all places, at the very far end of our service area. That is going to be a space and science center. There's a group called Challenger Centers that's out of Washington, D.C. Came out of the Challenger disaster back in 1986. And it provides a full immersive simulation of what it's like to actually launch a NASA mission into space. So if you watch some of the recent SpaceX missions, you will see a duplicate mission control that we will operate with kids and adults, by the way. If you all wanted to go out, we have adult programs. And then there's also a space station simulation where we have all kinds of equipment. So you can look at the Earth for an environmental kind of issue. You can look at the moon for the new Artemis missions going out, and you can look at Mars for the Mars missions. And it is completely immersive, completely interactive. And that also ties to all the programming that we do with our partners out at the Yankee Air Museum. So we've got this wonderful combination of organizations we've cobbled together in a really creative way under an initiative we call Unity and Learning. So it's something that is a one-stop shop for teachers and for families and for students and adults and anyone else that wants to be involved. So we are hopeful that we will see attendance return to normal. We thought we were on our way back up as we reopened in May. Delta obviously is causing people a lot of concern. So it's going to be a long road ahead. And you know what's made it work for us throughout the entire thing? People like you that have believed in us, that have sent positive words, that have been just really friendly to us and saying, don't give up, keep going. And that's kind of it, Rob.
Well, Mel, you're a real treasure to the town. How long have you, 17 years in town? I know you were out of Cranbrook before that, and have a great presence in the United States Children's Museum movement, which is really good. And I'm appreciating it now as we have weeks on end to take care of our granddaughters. We just let them loose there and they're fine. So it's
so
great.
Glad they came out. And invite everyone to come out for a visit. There's always a personal tour waiting for anyone who wants to get a behind the scenes look.
Karen, you have a comment to Mel? Karen Andrews?
Yeah, just that, you know, the team that Mel has assembled with this Unity and Learning Collaborative is so, so special. I feel really privileged to have the opportunity to have worked with them a bit over the past few years. And I just want everyone to know how amazing everything from the greeters to the educators to the leadership team. And they've done such a Herculean job during the pandemic, taking care of not only their team members, but the public with distance learning and virtual classrooms. And I'm just so pleased that they're here in our community. So congratulations, Mel.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you also for being part of our team. I mean, we are one of those people that believes in Karen and her team, and we couldn't have made it through the last year and a half without Karen and her team.
And Mel, do you need what do you need from volunteers these days? What are the opportunities there for people that might want to volunteer?
Well, there's always volunteer opportunities out at Leslie. We have this wonderful live animal collection out there. They are our animal ambassadors, and we're always looking for help out there. But you know, the number one thing that sets us apart, and it's a really good question, Robin, thank you, is that every single exhibit or program we have here, we are interpreters. We are not content generators. And one of the things that's so amazing about Ann Arbor and Ann Arbor area is that behind closed doors throughout this community, there are ideas and things that people are doing. The best way you can volunteer is to say, hey, we have an idea. Wouldn't it be a great exhibit or a great program? We want to share it because we're all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to be good stewards of our planet. We're trying to get people involved in the idea of new careers. All of these things are visible then to our kids, and we do it in partnership. So if you have some interesting widget or idea or something that you want to share and celebrate, I think we could be really the go-to place. And that's the best way someone can volunteer and join us.
I got one, Mel, from my 5-year-old granddaughter who had her birthday yesterday. She's in New York City, and it was on fashion. So, maybe you can a science exhibit on the science of fashion that might be appeal to the boys and girls in the community. So.
Well, it's actually an interesting idea. I mean, many years ago, we actually had a fashion exhibit that we designed here that traveled to multiple science centers around the country. Maybe it's time for a renewal.
There you go. There you go. All right. We're going to move on. Thank you, Mel, for participating, and hope we can get you back later in the year. And again, I really encourage people to get out to any of those museums, because it's a really great place. And I hesitate to say this, but adults may have even a better time than the kids. So, hang in there, guys. I like that one where you shoot the water up and you try to get the ball to balance on it. That's a tough one. So, all right. Well, we're going to move on. We have some of you have met Ellen PutneyMoore. Ellen is brand new to town. Are you actually got your place set up and living here now, or just
no?
moved?
So I am currently coming to you live from New York City.
Oh, wow.
Next week, I will officially, after 15 years, be a resident again of Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I will be joining as the new director of sponsorship and memberships at the Michigan Theater. And I want to sort of second what Mel was saying about Karen Andrews and the Andrews Group. She actually interviewed me, and her team worked with me through the interview process. And it was one of the warmest, most informative interviews processes I've ever had, which, how many of us can say that about interviews, truly, that they were a delightful process. So I'm so honored. I've been a fan of the Michigan Theater since I was 5 years old, when I first stepped on stage as a ballerina. And I think that directly led to, many years later, I was an opera singer for about 15 years. So that's how I ended up in New York City. Some of you may know my mother. She's here today, Joan Moore, president of the Arbor Consulting Group. I said to her, in moving, I'm so excited, but I have this great community of people from all sorts of industries, whether it be the arts and Wall Street, and, we all have advice for each other and sit down and network. And she said, oh, I have just the program for you. I think you're going to, find Rob's program to be really, really helpful. And thus far, I already have. Currently, I'm at the AKC Museum of the Dog, wrapping up that. So Mel, I feel your pain. We have a lot of interactive touch exhibitions. So we've really had to sort of turn everything on its head and say, how do you have a museum and engage people safely while still making sure everyone's engaged at all ages? But again, I'm so thrilled to be part of the Michigan Theater. What I heard time and time again in the interview process from everyone was how much the community came together to support the Michigan Theater, whether it was by buying popcorn. I mean, it's the best popcorn in the state as far as I'm concerned. Whether it was sustaining memberships, buying memberships, sustaining sponsorships and support. What I heard time and time again is the community came together and said, the Michigan Theater is important to us and we want to see it keep going. We want it to still be there when this is all over. And that really meant the world to me. And to be part of an organization that is that beloved is really an honor and is incredibly important. As I said, a former performing artist. I worked on Wall Street for a while, both in fintech and equities as a client services person. I've also done e-commerce and built a couple of websites. I built the Museum of the Dog's online gift shop, which has been greatly successful during the pandemic, as well as having a nonprofit background. I helped build the development team for the American Kennel Club. So I would love to be, if anyone needs someone to bounce ideas off of or would like me to look at something, I'd love to be in service to others. I'd love to get to know you any way that I can help. I think the only way we kind of make this through, and I think we've all seen that, is by being a community and leaning on each other for support, even if it is via Zoom.
Excuse me, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Does that mean we're going to start seeing more dog movies at the theater?
Listen, no promises are being made, but we just might. I don't think anybody's going to be against that, hopefully.
What I mean, of course, is movies that dogs would enjoy, not just.
Yeah, right. Yes, I did already voice what if we had dog movie day, but that was shot down immediately for health and safety purposes. So that was a disappointment, but I'll keep working at it.
Right.
But again, I'd love to be a resource for everyone, and I'm so delighted to be here and meeting you all today, and really looking forward to coming back home. So thank you, Rob, for letting me speak.
Fantastic. And we have Julie Palmer on board, who I have not met before. So where's Julie? Julie, how you doing?
Fantastic, Dr. Rob. How are you?
So I'm good. So you're in the retreat business.
I am a graduate of U of M, so go blue. I feel like I'm with family here. And I enjoyed some of your in-person events in the past. And when I was with all of you before, I was in the event production space. So doing lots of events and wedding planning. I think, Dr. Rob, you thought of that earlier in some of our emails. But as many of us experienced loss with COVID, my entire event business folded because of the pandemic. And I tell people I didn't pivot, I actually pirouetted and found a much more beautiful expression of my creative gifts moving into the retreat space. Robin, I've already checked you out on LinkedIn and I want to connect with you because I feel like there's some collaboration that we could do.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a good one right there. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I serve mostly women and I really describe them as adventurous women who dare to live fully. And so I'm really looking to create retreats where mindset and luxury get to play. So we're always going to be working on ourselves, but doing it in wonderful, beautiful places around the world. And I love collaboration. I work with a lot of healers and coaches as well to help them create retreats for their own clients. With anybody who's been in business for yourself long enough, you know that you can't do it without working on yourself, right? So mindset has become something that I'm really actively pursuing. And as a result of that, and through a lot of networking, I've been invited to be a speaker at an upcoming online summit in September. And it's called The Secret to Feeling Fan-Freaking-Tastic. And I'm going to share a link in the comments. It's really geared towards female entrepreneurs. And I'd love for you to share this with your favorite female business owners in and around the community and virtually, because we're going to actually be speaking across Canada and the US, which makes it particularly exciting.
Yeah. Have you, again, on this theme, so how long have you been an entrepreneur?
Since 2016.
Wow, good for you. Mm-hmm. And have you thought about retreats for dogs just to keep up with it?
Well, if I do, I think I'll be calling Ellen.
Yeah, because I think, dogs just don't get enough variety of experiences. They don't see the world that much. I think it's a great market for dogs. So, and also people want a little vacation. So it would be like a respite care as well. So welcome, Julie. Post your piece and glad to have you part of the community. Anything we could do to support you. Julie, let's see, who should we introduce you to? Who's involved that could help Julie here? Karen, you might be. Karen still on board? Where's Karen Andrews? Is she still here? Oh, there you go. Karen, you run across a lot of companies that might use that service.
Yeah, for sure. I was definitely making note of that. I'm always looking for new and innovative ways to allow people to connect at retreats. So definitely I'll connect with Julie.
Sounds fabulous, Karen. Look forward to it. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on next. You mentioned Robin, and it's my pleasure to introduce Robin Pollak. Robin, and by the way, Robin, it's not going to be, I know it's not dogs, but I'm looking forward to your sons running into the picture. They always do, and I always enjoy seeing them. They're what, about 5 and 6 or something like that, 5 and 8? So Robin,
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Robin.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I've got a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, and I've taken over my adventure business from my parents. So we're definitely a 3-generation business in the making, although the boys probably don't know quite as much as they think they do at this point. But I own Journeys International. It's a business that my parents started over 40 years ago here in Ann Arbor when they were graduate students after living in Nepal. And I've grown up in the adventure business, although now, both because of my background in experiential education, business strategy, leadership development, and also because of the way the world is going and the ways that my parents actually have shaped the travel industry through their work in environmental ecotourism and adventure travel, there's a lot of people doing what they already did. And now I have opportunities, I think, to push travel in new directions. And COVID has pushed us even farther to see what more we can make of adventure. So for a long time, we've helped people explore all the far corners of the world, and we still do that. Throughout COVID, we had a couple of people venturing all around the world, and we have more people doing that now. But as you all know, fewer people this week than last week want to take those adventures. And meanwhile, we at Journeys over the past couple of years have really refined our definition of adventure as anything that takes you just beyond your comfort zone to maximize wonder, discovery, and potentially transformation. So people think of adventure travel as travel that gets your adrenaline pumping, or travel that takes you down whitewater rivers, or travel maybe that takes you into tribal villages where there's no electricity or Wi-Fi. But to me, adventure, especially in these times of COVID, can really take place in your own backyard or in front of your computer screen. Anything that just takes you to a place of discovery. And we're really playing with that at Journeys right now. So I really want to invite all of you to explore that idea with me. And I want to invite you actually to find us on Facebook, Journeys International, because we're playing with those ideas a little bit on Facebook right now. You know, I think we're still all in front of our computer screens more than maybe we wish we were, but we're asking some questions, we're posting some links, we're exploring those ideas. And maybe when you're ready to travel again, you want to talk with us about that. But in the meantime, we're talking with companies about how they can bring more adventure within what they're doing, whatever that looks like in a comfortable way now. And we're helping companies meet their goals for just expanding mindsets. We're helping individuals expand their goals for what it looks like to, find that wonder. And we're also inviting the people who talk with us to say, like, how can you help us figure out how to do that? Because I have to say, as a mom and as a business owner, especially a travel business owner, the idea of going back into another fall and another winter where we're all isolated from each other, and where not only can I not sell travel, but I can't travel myself. It's really agonizing and a little bit scary. So I'm just really doing what I can to connect people. That's what our business does. We connect across cultures, we connect with individuals. And it's exciting to me that we could expand our mindset a little bit to bring adventure into more corners of our worlds, even if that's not the corner of the world in Papua New Guinea. Maybe it's the corner of the world that is like tucked away in your brain that you haven't explored in all the ways that you could.
Kathy, I want to, but Robin, I want to go on a coffee tour. So have you done that?
Yeah, well, we've done coffee tours in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And we've incorporated some coffee plantations in other places also. And we have our Costa Rica coffee farmers ready to do a virtual coffee brunch later this year.
Well, my trip is going to be Sumatra, Kenya, Ethiopia, and Brazil. I think, can you set that up for me?
Yeah, like all on one trip, maybe on one Saturday morning.
Yeah, and a lot of coffee in that trip. Yeah, Saturday. And you're doing some virtual. Can you? Is any of those coming up?
Yeah. Well, actually, that coffee trip would be a great one for a virtual trip. Maybe Ari at Zingerman's could help us source the coffee, and we can deliver it to everybody's houses and get everyone to log on. And get some of the coffee farmers to tell us about it. We're also doing later this year a virtual trip to New Zealand, where we'll have some Maori community members. We'll do home visits where people will log on from their homes in New Zealand, and then we'll log on from our homes and share our experiences with each other. We'll have some New Zealand, some Kiwi farmers who will share with us, like, what are the challenges of farming there. We can compare how that's the same and different to what agriculture is like here. People who travel to New Zealand live do a lot of exhilarating adventure activities, but we'll do a lot more with cultural connections on our virtual tour to New Zealand later this year.
Well, that's great. I know the other aspect of this, and I've known Robin since she's about a teenager, is because I know her parents quite well, is multi-generational family businesses here. So Robin's second generation. Kit, what were you saying, 5? Where's Kit? Yeah, so she's the fifth generation, which is pretty extraordinary. Who else is in multi-generation? Anybody else in a multi-generation business? I know in a way, Ellen and your mom you're not quite in the same business, but pretty close. So it's fantastic. And Bill, you've had a few Birnkerhoff sample kids in your Argus farm too, right?
Yeah, they did work there.
So we're going to do a virtual connect here, a virtual meetup. And Emily, are you ready for this?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, what we're going to do, we're running a few minutes ahead, which is great. So we're going to take about 15 minutes before Bill comes on. And we're going to send you to a small breakout room. And this is the connecting part. So you'll have an opportunity, everybody turn on their cameras and their mics, and you'll have an opportunity to fly through space. And it'd be one of those exhibits like Mel Drumm has set up. And you'll fly through space and end up with your future friends in a little chat room. So Emily Freund is going to take us away. She's my able assistant, and we'll do this for 15 minutes. So, and I don't have to give you any instructions because you all know how to network, right? So take it away, Emily. Any highlights people want to share that they did in a small group? Anybody meet any interesting people? Kelly?
It was wonderful to hear people kind of tell us a little bit about their stories and how they work and how they've been thriving and making the best of the last 18 months. It was actually really inspiring.
Who was in your group, Karen?
Annie and Corey and Robin.
Okay. Good people. We didn't want to send you up with anybody who wasn't a good person, so that's good. Anybody else want to share anything that they experienced in the group?
Yeah, Jerry and I solved half the world's problems. It was just
speaking. I'm
wonderful.
Losing. Okay, so go ahead.
Jerry, did we not solve half the world's problems?
Well, that's good because there's a lot of problems out there to solve. So
we did the easy ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is there an easy one? Tell me what that one is.
How to make streets safe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the answer is?
Build more screened-in front porches.
Ah, good idea.
The house.
Yeah. I like it.
Gene Jacobs. Yeah.
Very good. Okay.
We had David. Is it Whittinger? David, is that Office Evolution? Is that right, David?
Yeah, it's Whitinger, but yeah.
Whitinger, yeah. Tell the folks what you do and how you survive the pandemic. Sounds cool.
Oh well, so I run a co-working business right across from the mall, but we have 26 individual offices. I know I see several names are familiar with us here, but so it's mostly 1 to 3 people operations. Small entrepreneurial companies, but what kept us alive was the fact that we had individual offices. People could come in, they could close the door. You were not necessarily out in public. We're known as a co-working business, but the co-working part of the business was essentially shut down for most of COVID last year. So, but the fact that people could come in, they could be alone. We kept the place very, very clean. And we didn't really allow people to just come in and walk around, which for the most part you like to do with co-working, but that's what kept us going. And we've survived it through, and hopefully we'll keep going here. So we still have some challenges ahead of us.
Good for you, David. And David has been one of the sponsors of Leaders Connect. So I really appreciate David and what he's doing. And I think a lot of people are trying to face that dilemma. Do they take a small office, or do they keep their office, or do they work out of the home? It's a tough challenge to figure out. So you're in a changing business. Well, I'm going to turn things over to my friend Bill Birnkerhoff. And I mentioned earlier, I don't know if everybody was on, but Bill is celebrating a very special anniversary today. You want to tell us about that, Bill, and take it away for a few minutes?
Sure, Rob. Thank you. My wife Kathy's also on the call, and together we have Argus Farm Stop. And I'll just say, amazing talk so far. I think, when you think about Ann Arbor as a place to live, and I see Matthew Van Biesen here, and you have the arts, UMS, you've got football, hands-on museum, Michigan Theater, all these things. The part, that we've tried to bring to the table is the food part of the table, and to really make Ann Arbor one of the best places in the world for local food. And how does local food get grown? How does it get sold? You know, how does it work in a way that is sustainable economically for farms? And so, you know, that's been the mission of Argus Farm Stop. And the how many people have been there? Have you guys been to any of the Argus Farm Stops? We have small locations, but we sell lots of food. We have over 200 farms that sell through our 2 locations. And what's different is that the farms own their goods. They set the prices. It's just like a farmer's market, except the farmer can go back and farm. And then our staff stocks it and sells it. And it just makes it way easier for the farm. So the farm can actually keep farming. And as customers, if you come into Argus, you can buy from any of these farms all in one kind of transaction and year round every day. So we attempted to meld the best of farmers markets with the best of kind of a grocery store with good refrigeration and convenient places to buy food from. So in any case, we're happy to have celebrated the 7th anniversary. I'd say one statistic that we're kind of hopeful about is one of the reasons why it's so hard to be a small to medium-sized farm is that on average in the United States, if you go to a grocery store and you buy something, a piece of produce from the grocery store, the farmer who grew that only gets 15 cents on the dollar, and 85 cents go to all the middle people between that farm and you. And on average, food in our country travels over 1,500 miles from farm to table. And so the whole system is set up and geared for these long distance food shipping where the farmers get the short end of the stick. And so we've tried to invert that at Argus, and we pay out, instead of 15 cents on the dollar, we paid out 75 cents on the dollar. So they're getting 5 times higher payouts, and the 25% that's remaining is enough to run a store. And we kind of run it at break even and try to funnel as much food, to the consumers in Ann Arbor as possible. And I'll say, just looking backwards, we ran some statistics today, and one is we've paid out over 10 million to local farms since we started. And so I think that, and I wouldn't say I'd say the customers have, you all have, which is an amazing, surprising thing that I guess we did not expect to be in that position to have that kind of potential economic impact, along with the farmers markets and along with farm shares and everything else. Like, we're all working on it together. But another new piece of information is when you look at the number of farms that are new, kind of entering farming and selling directly to consumers, Washtenaw County is at the top of the list in Michigan now. It's the #1 county for growth of new farms, and we're in the top 10 in the US. And that's between 2012 and 2017. And so I think we're starting to see some really growth and some movement in income. So we're, in addition to all of the amazing food, we're happy to see the kind of the economic health coming.
Great. I see your spouse, Kathy, there. And Kathy, can you explain why you decided to do this instead of farming? I know you were looking at that.
Oh, because we were terrible farmers. We tried. We were terrible farmers. It is so hard, and farmers work so hard, and we thought we could try it, and we were terrible at it, but we were good at business. So we were like, well, okay. So admit defeat and move on.
Pivot, they call it, right?
Yeah.
Kathy, what do you want to add to what you heard so far about the store? What do you like about working there and leading that enterprise?
I like the people who come in and the staff who work there. And I have to say, I really have enjoyed all the frantic changing it up. So we have responded to every challenge successfully, somewhat successfully, because our staff is so unbelievable. People who care about the same thing, all aligned in the same direction, will do amazing things. So where we thought it wasn't possible from a stamina standpoint or a time standpoint, our staff did it. So I just feel like the mission part of what we're doing is critical to it working.
Yeah.
But my favorite part is like when you guys walk in, Ken and Rob, when you walk in the door and say hi.
Yeah.
So two pieces of news. One is we'll have a third location in town that's going to be opening later in the year. That's right up the street on Packard, in the spot that used to be the old vacuum store. And what Kathy mentioned was a lot of gymnastics during COVID to go online, and the online business is continuing and thriving, and it's quite good and convenient. But I think the neighborhood wants their store back, where we've been doing this at Packard. So we have more space to do online and grocery, and also to make it more reliable, like for coffee and tavern. And I'd say one new entrant is a way to enjoy a fruit ice cream, a local fruit ice cream. Michigan is one of the places in the world that can grow amazing fruits. We take it for granted here, but you really can't. You can't grow what we grow in most states in the country. But the season for most fruit, whether blueberries or strawberries, tends to be like a month or two, and then then you're into the land of frozen fruit. And so thinking of what you can do with frozen fruit, we came across a New Zealand berry farm ice cream making technology that makes a cup at a time and crushes the fresh fruit into the ice cream. And so that's being trialed and available at the Packard store. And so that's an interesting new there's one other of those machines in Denver, and I think one in Seattle. But it's a great way. It's an amazing product. I don't know.
I love it, but I have to call out my good friend Marty Fischer. Marty, are you out there? Marty made a very bad faux pas on the chat. He said it was an Australian. And if you've been to Australia or New Zealand, you do not want to make that mistake, Marty. So
wait a minute, it was New Zealand, not Australia. Oh, okay.
So I think you better edit your.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
And Marty,
I think I made that one for you. I think when you came
did.
in,
you told me you told me the backstory. So I was trying to show off, and I blew it. So.
And Marty is a chief communicator guy too, so this is unacceptable. Marty, you want
to check my notes from now on.
You want to quickly say what you do, Marty?
Oh, I work at Detroit Public Television and the content team, do editing and community engagement mainly. So, okay. And been a long time fan of Rob Pasick. He used to write for me when I was at the Detroit News.
That's right. Yeah. Marty would publish little articles about the things that I was doing, so I appreciate that. But Marty, we'll not. You can make this mistake only once, and you're allowed. And after that, you're banned from the southern part of the hemisphere. I'll tell you. So Bill and Kathy, thank you very much. Any questions for Bill and Kathy? Anybody have questions about how they do this, or any feedback about what they're doing?
Kathy.
I'd love to, Bill and Kathy, it's great to hear about all that you're doing. One of the things that I've learned that I didn't know about Argus is the help that you give to other prospective, similar types of businesses. And I wondered if you could talk a little bit about that work, why you feel it's important, why in some ways you're seeing this as a resource and a way you can sort of leverage your expertise.
Sure. I can talk about that. So we did this kind of as an experiment. We were set up in a way that takes parts of a model we saw in Ohio, but we've converted it into run more like a business. And it's working great. And so there's lots of communities now that are looking at, can they bring something like this into their community that could supplement their farmers market, could really bring this energy and fuel into their town. As a kind of an entity for Kathy and myself, we were more interested to be more following like the Zing Train model and just to teach others how to do it. So we're pretty much an open source book, and we openly share whatever we've learned with different communities. And it's been great to see people come, and we kind of have now a curriculum. And during COVID, we had a Zing Train former employee come and build out a curriculum for us. And there's every month, a free 1 hour kind of an overview of the farm stop, what happens behind the scenes. And then every other month, a full 3-day class that goes into the details of how do you make one of these, how do you start them, and how do you operate them. And there's one that I think Kathy just went through in Bloomington, Indiana. They sent about 15 people up right before COVID, and they've just opened. And in Chelsea, there's Agricole. So there's a handful. But we think it's something that I think any town that's got a farmer's market, you know, could really be well positioned to add this into the mix. And yeah, so anyways, it's a part that we're really interested into. It's staff loves teaching others about what we're doing and talking about it. So yeah, thanks for asking.
So it's a good segue, Bill and Kathy. You built a business, and then you've also built a way to share it with other people and train. And you're in a town where another business, at least one other, but many other had sort of modeled that, and that's Zingerman's, where they one of the first things they did 30 some years ago was build a Zing Train, and Zing Train is going strong, and it really trains people about a lot of the things that Zingerman's cares about. So the transition is, I think Ari has joined us. Ari, are you there?
I'm there, Rob.
You might recognize Ari because he's wearing a T-shirt like mine, so you know that's why he's there today. Ari, how you doing?
Best pandemic ever, Rob.
Yeah. So Ari, you were I understand you have a new publication among other things going
on. Yes, I've been going nonstop today, so my brain is a little frazzled, but I have we have a couple things. One is the pamphlet Working Through Hard Times, which everybody on here can guess what it's about. And then we also just, we really did it as an internal publication, but people were asking, so we put it out for sale too, which is our new statement of beliefs. It's about a 40-something page booklet that we're using for the staff, but it would give people a sense of how they might create their own.
Yeah, well, we all operate under beliefs, whether we know it or not. So
yes, exactly.
And we act like they're the reality, but I don't think there really is a total reality of what you believe.
No, there's only enough overlays of perception.
Yeah, and sometimes the Venn diagram doesn't connect with anything in terms of belief, some people and others. So Ari, you talked about getting through hard times. Can you catch up on not so much what you did in the past, but how's it doing?
Going on now?
What are you up for? What do people can look forward to?
Well, I look forward to all this being over and whatever the next problem that we all need to deal with. But right now, I would say our current big problem is one that I'm guessing many others on the call, I'm not looking at the list, but many people are experiencing, I know, all over the country, which is one we couldn't have imagined 17 months ago, but that's that we can't hire enough people. So we're challenged by that, but as we have all seen over the decades, soon it will be another problem. So that's on our horizon, and we're already getting ready to hire up for mail order for the holiday season. So we got all that going on. I know Zing Train is hopeful to recommence the in-house classes, in-person classes. Thank you for talking about Zing Train a minute ago, Rob. And then our Christy Brablek, who's the partner in our food tours, is hopeful that we can get those going again.
So what are some of the, do you have some event? Well, how many years is this for you, Ari? Is it, you guys are 30 something? I know it's
years of Zingerman's or years of my age.
Aren't they the same?
Yeah, I was born and then we opened. We're going to have our 40th anniversary.
Wow.
March 15th.
Congratulations. That's terrific. That's very good. Any questions for Ari? I know many of you have been back to the deli, to the Roadhouse. My son was in town, and that's the first thing he did was we got sandwiches and ate them outside on the community high lawn, and he loves going to Zingerman's.
I saw your son's name, by the way, Rob, on page 3 of the Times the other day.
Yeah, he made the big time. He's an editor. My son Adam is an editor of the newsletters at the New York Times. So we're very proud.
That was a nice surprise.
Yeah, they just launched a new enterprise where they're having special newsletters that are for subscribers only. So he developed that, and he's really excited about that. So that's great. Thank you. So any questions for Ari? I know many of you are part of the Zingerman community by working there and playing there. Who's got a question?
Yeah, it's Robin over at Journeys. I have a quick, hey Ari, I'm curious to know, with this new statement of beliefs that you put out, if there are new ideas in there that would surprise any of us. Are there new beliefs that are really changing the mindset of the Zingerman's community?
Well, I hope there's none in there that will shock you, because you've been coming in for a long time.
Yeah.
And so, as I have written a bunch of times, I mean, when you buy our food or you let us serve you, you're essentially buying our beliefs, because it's what we manifest in our actions. That said, as Rob already pointed out, I have come to realize that most of us hold a lot of beliefs, and most of the world doesn't even know they have them, let alone, more importantly, they could change them. And so what this is really about is trying to get ourselves to agree that these are the beliefs that we will work with while we're at work, right? So it's not for me to say the belief somebody uses out of work. It's none of my business really what they choose to believe. But in a culinary sense, I've come to equate it. It's sort of the agreeing on the quality level of the intellectual ingredients we're going to use for our decision making. So the first one on the list is about starting with positive beliefs, right? So we have all had, me included, many negative beliefs. But if I start our conversation by complaining about Billy somewhere, and I'm like, Billy's not committed, he doesn't care, we're already now in trouble, because I'm violating the statement of beliefs. Now, it doesn't mean Billy's performance is up to par. There may be a concrete performance issue, but I need to start to teach myself to tell a different story. Like, for whatever reasons that Billy has going on, the work that he's delivering isn't up to par. Could be we didn't make our expectations clear. Could be has a lot going on outside of work. Could be X, Y, and Z. But it's not diminishing the problem, but it's just framing the problem in a positive way that I really believe can let us go forward together. So I think there's 38 on the list, and we've spent about 2 years coming up with it. And I look at the beliefs as that our guiding principles or our values are also beliefs, but they're the ethically grounded ones that we're not really interested in changing. These beliefs are not really about ethics, although they support ethics, but they could certainly be changed. Like, one of them is about, we believe in our visioning process, which a lot of people on here know about. But if you gave me a different one tomorrow that was better, it doesn't mean we can't change it. It's just trying to make clear to people when they start where the furniture is, so they don't have to bump into it all the time and then find out by bruising their shins.
Ari, I don't mean to be an expert on this, but I'm wondering if you can attract people to work at your establishments by emphasizing this idea of belief.
Yeah.
I saw in the Washington Post today that, I don't know, it was like maybe 30% or 40% of people under 30 want to change their jobs because, so it's really, people are looking for an alignment between their beliefs and the place they work. So.
Yep. No, I think that's certain. I mean, I'd like to think that was true at every level. I don't know if it is, but certainly there's little to lose. I actually gave a copy to a guy we were interviewing the other night with exactly that in mind. And that's for a management job. So I'm sure, a lot in the front of his mind, because he's worked in different places and he will have had different experiences than ours. So absolutely agreed.
And Emily just posted the link to your pamphlet. So actually, it would be pretty interesting to get you on for a full session and talk about it, because I think it's
glad to do it.
Really ignites everybody in terms of something that's there that we don't think about, but it's there in front of us all the time, whether it's belief about government, like in the Afghanistan, or its belief in the environment. Yep. So all our big problems, come down to issues of beliefs. It's really powerful in terms of the way our country is divided right now. So I think it's very important. Any other questions, Bill? I think somebody posted that, maybe it's Bill, that you guys do some training with Zingerman stuff. Is that what I see there?
Yeah, we've, hi, Ari.
Hi, Bill.
Zingerman's has been such a great organization to have in town from the beginning, when Argus was like just a concept. And then, one of the things that you notice whenever you're in a Zingerman's, institution is the way that customers are treated. And so we've built that in. And I think just as we've gone forward, we've had a lot of people interested in the model. And I think, we've tried to also learn from the way that Zing Train also, share so generously with what they've learned, to share anything we might have learned along our journey with others that are on the same path.
Well, right back at you. I shop there regularly.
Any other questions for Ari?
Ari, this is Scott Trosen from Michigan HR. Can you tell us maybe what the next ZCOB member culinary edition is? It might be top secret, but if it's not.
No, I don't have one right now. We're just trying to get out the other side of all this. So, but I will say in our new 2030 or newish 2032 vision, one of the interesting in a good way changes that we made is that it opens it up to non-food businesses. Because we want to just stay here in the Ann Arbor area. So we want to have more possibilities of what we could do. And certainly in my mind, a lot of those could be, very small. They don't need to be big. So little things that are done well are great.
I think somebody ought to open up I'm sorry, Scott, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm just saying thank you, Ari, for the little and big things you have done that are great. So thank you.
Well, thank you for asking. I hope to see you soon.
All right. So, Ari, I know you're on the run, so I'm going to let you go, and we're going to pass. This is not meant as a pun, but we're going to pass the baton to Matthew there about Matthew Van Ziesen. You know each other, Ari?
Never seen him before. Matthew, I got my symposium booked for Oxford, so you can let your mother know I'll be down there in October.
Okay, she'll expect a visit. You promise. So
we need an explanation of that, Ari.
Matthew will explain it. I'm going to Southern Foodways Symposium, Alliance Symposium, which I have gone to pretty much every year other than the pandemic. And I met his mom at the Roadhouse, and it turns out she lives there.
Oh, okay. All right.
Good to see you, Ari.
Take care.
Matthew, I hope you appreciate my pun about passing the baton, but it's pretty weak. But Matthew has been through also a big challenge, bringing those big crowds together is the tradition at Hill Auditorium and other venues that you bring. So how have you gotten through things, Matthew?
Good to see you, Rob. Good to see everyone. Always good to see so many terrific leaders here from our community, and then obviously my esteemed colleague and predecessor, Ken Fischer. So look, we like all of you have been challenged immensely this past year, and the lifeblood of what we do is meeting people and giving them hopefully a really amazing artistic or educational or community experience. And so this whole, since March of 2020, our ability to do that in person was pretty much a non-starter. So here's what we really, we were able to do some amazing things this past year, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But the way we approached it from the very beginning was that we wanted to make a really clear, non-negotiable commitment to our people in the organization. So we have been able to navigate 18 months of a pandemic and not have any layoffs or furloughs, and we've kept our employees and their livelihoods intact. We have given people a lot of flexibility and support in all the pressures that they're feeling, both at work and outside of work. And but we really made a commitment to them as our staff, and we made a commitment to our board and to our audiences that we wanted to keep their health and safety first and foremost, and be as supportive in whatever way we could to keep them engaged, to keep them connected throughout this time. So we were able to pivot and do a lot of digital work this past year, including 6 kind of amazing digital artist residencies with different artists and ensembles from all over the world. We produced a filmed theater piece, which will have a continued life and actually a national profile this coming year. So that's all really exciting, but let's be honest, we can't wait till we get a chance to be back in person with all of you and with our audiences here in Southeast Michigan and from around Southeast Michigan. I also want to just say a couple of other things. You know, we have tried to use this time as constructively as we can. So we all know how disruptive this time is and how in some ways you can spend all of your time triaging the minute by minute, the day by day, the week by week. But we have tried to spend this time of disruption to really lean into some serious issues as a staff and as an organization, whether it's diversity, equity, inclusion, and really what the work that we can and should do to become a more intentional anti-racism organization. Obviously, building our digital capacity as a company will serve us well right now and also for the future. And now, and of course, Ari's no longer with us, but we are leaning right into a visioning process that really starts to look towards our 150th anniversary in 2029. And what is that? What are those aspirations? What's that expansive view for UMS and for an arts organization like ours here in our community? What do we want that to be? What do we want our culture to be? So I dare say, like, if it's a difficult subject and a complicated subject, we're leaning into it right now, in addition to kind of the work that we need to do to be prepared for folks. So as we look at the fall, you know, I think if you'd asked me 4 to 6 weeks ago where are we headed, it might be different than today, but I think we're still cautiously optimistic about our ability to have safe in-person live performances this year. We're continuing to work on safety protocols and making sure that we're creating a set of circumstances that really make it good for people, feel safe, feels comfortable. We will do a series of outdoor dance workshops starting in late August. It's You Can Dance. We've got 4 sessions, 2 in Ypsilanti, 2 in Ann Arbor.
Wow.
And then we are officially starting our season on October 12th. We will welcome arguably the greatest tenor in the world right now, Jonas Kaufmann, to Ann Arbor. He's never been to Ann Arbor before, never sang on the Hill Auditorium stage before. Ken knows this, which is that the last time we had a pandemic here in the United States and in the world, a very famous musician, maybe the most famous musician in the world at that time, Enrique Caruso, was scheduled to come here. UMS and Ann Arbor had worked long and hard to get Caruso to come and sing on the Hill Auditorium stage. Hill had only been built 5 years earlier than that. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic in 1918, he couldn't come, but he came the next year in 1919 on a train tour of the United States and came and sang at Hill Auditorium. And when we told that story to Jonas Kaufmann's management, they were like, we're going to make this happen. So, you know, if you're lucky, you have those moments in your career that you get to make special things happen. Jonas Kaufmann, October 12th. We have Jazz at Lincoln Center on November 28th, Clinton and the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra. The Takash String Quartet and Julian Lebreau. Right after that, our annual performances of the Messiah. And then we're really off and running in the winter and spring. We have the Philadelphia Orchestra coming for 2 concerts. We're producing a new concert theatrical version of Fiddler on the Roof. We're presenting Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower, adapted theatrically by Toshi Regan. So we've got a lot of great stuff this year. We're not being naive. We know that there are going to be some bumps in the road along the way, but we just have to stay really, really focused on what we're here to do. And that is really engage people in the arts, create a safe, welcoming, comfortable environment for them to come back. We know firsthand, personally, but we also know through talking to others how important the arts and the performing arts in particular are to people's lives, how important it's been to them during the pandemic. And we're just trying to be as smart and determined and safe as we approach this new season.
Fantastic. It sounds like some wonderful performances in dance and spreading out. I think I saw the one that you're talking about. I forget the name of it, but the guy from the New Orleans TV show was on it. My memory is like, I could make some associations. What was his name that starred in that production?
There's a production that from this past year was Some Old Black Man with Wendell Pierce.
Wendell Pierce, that's what I was thinking
Charlie
of.
Robinson, yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. So, you know, if any of you have it, it's going to be spreading around and available again.
Yeah, I think we're going to have an exciting announcement in September about the continued life, the next chapter in the life of that production.
Excellent, excellent. I'm going to let you know, I think Ken handed the baton off to you a few years ago, and now I'm going to let you do the same thing. And Ken has reinvented himself as Spider-Man. So, you know, I think that it's a good transition. It doesn't get in your way, Martin. Matthew, it's like a completely own thing. And you're probably wondering what the hell I'm talking about. But maybe you can ask Ken what that's about.
Well, hey, it's always my pleasure to introduce Ken. So you all know Ken. Ken is, you know, been an amazing friend and counterpart and colleague ever since I got here to UMS and long before that. And I've known at every step in the pandemic that he's there rooting for us, cheering us on, putting an arm around our shoulder, if only metaphorically most of the time, to really encourage us. So Ken, thank you. Thanks for all that you do here in the community. It's great to see you on the screen as always.
Well, thank you. And I hope all of you can feel as good about your successors when you have them as I do about Matthew and the leadership he's been able to give the organization now over 4 years. So Matthew, it's great to see you and to feel so good about UMS. You know, inspired by a couple of guys, some of you may know Bob Gunzel, who led the county for many years, Norm Herbert, who had a long history with the University of Michigan. Seeing these guys when they retired get deeply involved in the community inspired me. So I've been able to begin to do some volunteer work. Not that I wasn't doing it before, but there's a special organization called Friends Indeed. It was started 38 years ago by a small group of congregations. It now has 40 congregations, and their focus is to help address the poverty issue in the Washtenaw County area. And so they have a fundraiser each year. It's a golf tournament, and I'd been invited to be involved with that for years. And Dave Siglin, some of you know, has been very active in that. But last year they started a new fundraiser called Over the Edge. And what, you know, we were all wondering, is this going to be successful? The fact is, over $100,000 was raised by people rappelling off the roof of the former Campus Inn, now called the Graduate, Ann Arbor. $120,000. Now, how did they do that? They had people volunteer to rappel off the roof, and they got sponsors. And to be able to do that, we asked folks to make a commitment of $1,000, raise $1,000. Well, this year they asked me to be the honorary co-chair of Over the Edge. And my co-chair is the new co-chair of UMS. Now, Matthew, you know, I asked her before I knew anything about her being elected. Her name is Lisa D. Cook. And last spring, I asked her if she might co-chair this with me. And so we are the co-chairs of what's called Over the Edge. Now, on October 2nd, a bunch of us are going to rappel off the roof of the Campus Inn Graduate Hotel. And I'm here to invite you to consider rappelling yourself, okay? I mean, I'm a 76-year-old dude, no problem rappelling off the roof. And I think I look on the screen here, I see healthy people who care about the community, and I invite you to consider rappelling yourself. And what will that money go for? It'll go to help Friends Indeed do the work to help our friends in need in this county area. And they have a special purpose in helping people that fall through the cracks. So I just want to give you one example. That person who—
hold on, Ken. When you talk about rappelling, you don't want to talk about falling through the cracks. That's not.
Well, so these are the folks that just need that $97 to pay for the car repair that will enable them to drive to work, that will enable them to make money. Consider helping those kind of folks. I can tell you, Friends Indeed put that money to great use. And so I'll put in the chat, Friends Indeed, one word, MI, friendsindeedmi.org is where you can go to sign up to Rappel, or you can find me and help add to my goal. I'm trying to raise $15,000. I'm at about 12.5 right now, and I've got a month to go. So I might have to raise it to 20. So again, friendsindeedmi.org. And friendsindeedmi.org is where you'll find about the organization, but also look for that fundraiser, Over the Edge. And I hope you'll join me and others who are signed up. And again, if you think that's not for you to do and you want to help, look for Ken Fischer and help support my effort, or any of your friends who might also be rappelling. So any questions, friendsindeedmi.org. I'll put it on the chat. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, Ken is an inspiration, as is many of the other people online here. So I appreciate this, Ken, and I can't quite picture it, but I'll be there to catch you if you fall. How's that, you know? So Hermalinda, are you out there? One more speaker. Hermalinda Davis, are you there?
Hi, Dr. Rob. Yes, I'm here. I am in my car, so I won't turn on the camera.
Let me introduce you, Hermalinda. Hermalinda is a fabulous person who's working at the university, but she seems to always be doing something really exciting in the field of, I guess I think, wellness. Is that a pretty good way to think about it, Hermalinda?
Yes, health and wellness. Yes.
So could you tell us a little bit about what you're up to this fall?
Okay, so during the pandemic, I've always been a strong proponent and influencer around health and wellness. But I will say during the pandemic that I really realized how fragile we are as far as our health and also our social connections, and how that also relates to how healthy we are mentally and physically. So I've leaned into that a lot over the past year by investing in myself to learn more about how I can make more of an impact on the community and people that are interact with as far as their health, well-being, and mind-body together. So that's what I've been doing. So I've recently gotten a couple specializations in senior fitness and also as a brain health trainer. So I'm a bit of a nerd, and I love science. So I've been really digging into how exercise affects our brain in the different areas of frontal lobe processing speed, memory, our visual spatial orientation, and how that can be improved through exercise. So that's kind of what I've been up to, and it's great. And I just have been incorporating these practices and conversations pretty much with everyone I speak with. We always get into a conversation about you should spend more time outside, and what are you doing to stay active? So it's just becoming just a part of it is a part of who I am, but it's just become a part of my general conversation with everyone that I meet and interact with.
Hermalinda, can you put your contact information if people want to learn more about what you're doing? I don't know if you're doing classes or individual work, but we'd love to hear more about it. And, I think that I've been reading a book called The Extended Brain. And the idea of is that our brain is not just in our head, but it's in our bodies. It's in the community that we're part of. It's in the world we live in. And we really need to think this concept of the brain. So I appreciate you doing that.
Thank you. It sounds like an interesting read. I'd love to read that book. If you want to put that information also in the chat, I'd like to look that up.
All right, I will do that. And we're going to wrap up with another opportunity for a little post drink together. So those of you that can stay on, Emily's going to zip us to the new world, wherever that is, the new virtual world. And we'll just spend another 10 minutes and then that'll be a wrap. We'll wrap it up after that. So if you could hang in there, we're going to go ahead and do that. If you have to sign off, this is probably the best time to do that. But all right, good to see everybody. Good to meet people. And here we go. We're going to go into our virtual world and get connected again. So Haley, I was wondering if you heard Ken talking about rappelling off the building.
Yeah, I was very, very interested in that. That is something I would absolutely love to do.
Well, I think you could come to Ann Arbor, raise a little money and do it, Haley.
I know. I got to add that to my bucket list. I think that'll be a 2022 adventure for me.
Okay, all right. Yeah,
Ken's gonna go to Cirque du Soleil next.
So we're going to wrap up in a minute, but any other closing thoughts? People enjoy this format. It's something new I've tried, so good. All right.
Rob, I want to say thank you to you for persisting with this event. Despite the change in demands, I think you really did an awesome job in running this format and helping us all get to know each other. And thanks to everybody else for persisting in attending despite the change in format. It was really nice to get to know all of you. And I'm sure all of you join me in just appreciating Rob for continuing to provide these venues for getting to know each other.
Thank you. Well, it was a tough call. I was really looking forward. We had a lot of people sign up and I just didn't feel it was, I care about the integrity of this program. And if anybody got sick on my watch, I was going to feel bad, plus myself. So, I think that it was a good move, and I'm glad so many people turned out. And we found a way to connect even without being live. And for some people who were a little bit shy, this is a good way to do it. So we'll find out a time to get back soon. So I'm going to say bye to everybody, and look forward to talking to you soon. I guess Kit, you and I are going to connect tomorrow, so look forward to that. And Ken on Wednesday. So everybody, thank you for joining, and we'll see you in a little while.